Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you a 2 versus 2 on Colombelles, and in this one I'm going to be using the 15th Scots Division. I'm going to be supported by Haymaker, who's going to be making use of the 2nd Infantry. We're playing against Harold Alexander and Neuchâtel Suffer, who are playing the 91st Luftlandr and the 17th SS Panzergrenadier respectively. So in this one, it was an extremely fun game. It was very intense. There was a lot going on and a lot of back and forth. So a really fun one to look forward to. Let's just whack this to my point of view and I can talk my way through the replay from my perspective. So what we're going to see at the start is of course an AVRE. I would basically recommend that anybody using the 15th Scots Division always bring in an AVRE at the start of the game. They are easily probably one of the most powerful Phase A units, and I would always recommend using them. But let's just speed this up so that we can get our deployment going, because myself and Haymaker were talking through strategy at the start of this. I believe our opponents were also on comms. So this is a 2 versus 2 comms on comms, so it's actually pretty even in the grand scheme of things, I think. That's only an assumption. I believe that my opponents were on comms. I know that they are very good players. So let's just go back to our normal speed as the game is underway. So I've got an MMG carrier on the right carrying a Piet squad that's going to be moving up to this tree line. I've got in the centre the AVRE with the Honey Stewart, some rifle squads, got some of the command infantry and the command carriers, and then I've also got a few Vickers HMGs. Then in the middle I have the Humber Mark III with the recon squad. The Humber is going to remain in the middle just to provide the frontline push. In the centre, Haymaker is going to be making use of a lot of infantry. Going to be pushing forwards these Ranger support squads with the Ranger command units just to give them the extra veterancy. He's got an AT gun for this part, and then he's got a light force in the town as well. Again, another command infantry squad with 3 command or Ranger support squads, or Ranger assault squads even, for the town. So I bump into the enemy first, and I am going to have this Flak 36 attacking my Honey Stewart. I'm surprised it didn't actually try and pin down some of my Bedford trucks before I unloaded them, but I managed to get a lot of my infantry into position exactly where I wanted it. I was a bit skewed in this factory, but I definitely got my HMGs into important positions. This Vickers HMG unfortunately gets pinned down, but does get into cover in one of the hedgerows, and this basically gives me time to move forwards the AVRE. Meanwhile, the Honey Stewart's going to continue to engage from long range. Definitely should have had that move forwards. I just didn't want it to get pinned down quick enough, so you can see that I basically take out the Flak 36 and then move it forwards. He is trying to move across a couple of these STOS troops in the open. They're taking quite a lot of crossfire from the HMGs. Any units that run across the open here will get attacked by those. They do manage to get at least one squad into the building there. However, I do have 2 rifle squads on the left side to cover that off. And Panzergrenadier squad in the middle does get taken out by the AVRE. I probably should have focused down this MG42 earlier on with maybe a 5 position. But basically targeted what I could with the AVRE. So you can see the machine guns just being used there, destroy the MG42. Now taking out the STOS troop and the remaining Panzergrenadiers on the left. So that gets rid of all of the infantry presence on the left side of the factory. I take out that MG42, and now all that's remaining really in this engagement is the HMG in this building. So I'm moving forward again the AVRE to take care of that, and already I have a massive lead, so I'm going to start to bring up some reinforcements, a couple more Vickers HMGs just to hold the factory, and I'm also bringing up a unit of infantry to take this compound. In the centre we're perfectly okay. Maybe could have moved my Humber Mark III a little bit further forwards with the Recce. I probably could have moved these Recce up to even this sort of edge road here. That would have been a very nice place to have them so that they could provide the cover forwards. Haymaker's making some ground with his Ranger ports, which is good, since they don't have the middle too well defended from what we can see. Here we have the Panzergrenadier being revealed by some rifles as I move them forwards, so I'm going to move my AVRE out to try and take that out as well, alongside the Honey Stewart. Once both those tanks get on target, that's not going to last very long, and we push for a +1. So, currently running the +1 on the enemy, which is fantastic. So we definitely made a lot of ground, especially in the factory here, just getting the rifles forwards as fast as I can to take advantage of this territory, and then also making sure that my reinforcements are arriving where I need them. Getting an AT gun for the road just in case they try and push down here. Meanwhile on the left, Haymaker's in a bit of a pickle here. He's got his Ranger assault squads. They've been decimated by artillery, mostly off-map artillery. Come down and killed off most of his Ranger assault squads, and now he's being pushed on by Ersatztruppen and the MG. This ME-109 takes out his AT gun as well, so that was a bit of an issue for him, and he's pretty much collapsing on the left side. You can see I'm bringing in a 2-inch mortar carrier, and this doesn't actually get used too much throughout the game because of the range of the 2-inch mortars actually not that great. I kept finding that whenever we had like a specific target I would like to fire at, the mortar wasn't even in range of it, which was a bit disappointing. Meanwhile though, I am focusing on the left, continuing to move forwards these rifles, and pressing forwards with my command carrier, the Honey Stewart and the AVRE, just to try and make some more ground. Then what I would do is bring in some more reinforcements to take care of that, but as you can see I'm still focusing on the left, bringing up even more reinforcements for Haymaker, since he's running pretty low on infantry at this point. He's got all of his support squads in the centre. I think maybe he overcommitted a little bit with these Ranger supports in the centre. They weren't particularly useful throughout the game because as soon as they try and move out in the open they're just going to get pinned down and destroyed. But over on the left they definitely would have gone to work on the enemy infantry. Unfortunately at the start, with all of that artillery coming down, we get forced out of the town, and it makes it a very hard job to get back into it. I've got my Bedford truck coming up here. That's going to come up with some infantry. I've also got my 2 HMGs coming up as well, just to cover the advance of any infantry. The idea of this Bedford is just to get some infantry into the town. We are currently covering this quite well. M20 there and an M20 on the right, pinning down these infantry squads. Now over on the right side, my AVRE did unfortunately get killed by a pack that was sitting in this tree line. As you can see, this pack 40. They basically used return fire, so that it held its fire until it was given the target on the AVRE, and it one-shot side-shot my AVRE, which is very sad, and therefore allowed me not to move on. I could probably keep this to a neutral perspective for now, actually, as you can see that my rifles and Vickers HMGs are engaging the infantry that they've brought up to reinforce. So they've got the Stoss troop here, they've smoked themselves off there just to make sure they don't continue to take fire from the command carrier. And my Honey Stewart here, well, managed to pin down the Pack 40 and made that retreat on the right. Now I'm pushing forwards with these rifles. My Honey Stewart's currently falling back, just waiting for that to get it back on its feet. But it does end up moving into range of the Pack 40, into line of sight of that. And as you can see, boom, goes my Honey Stewart. So I've lost the majority of my armour, and at this point I probably should have brought in some more armour, because as you can see my opponent is very much on the back foot on this right side, and I could have made a concerted effort to push all the way through, especially with the amount of infantry and the command carriers that I still have alive. I would just need, like, for instance, another AVRE, which could definitely bring in like 2.5 minutes when it comes to phase B, but you'll see later on that I don't actually opt to go for that. So just going to whack this back to my point of view. You see on the left I am still moving forwards with these rifles and the Vickers HMGs. I'm getting the Vickers to sit on the flanks, like one on the right, one on the left, just so that I have like covering fire into the town as the rifles move forwards. That's the plan at least. I've finally moved forwards the Humber Mark III in the centre, and that's going to be accompanying the 6-pounder just to cover the road. Got some more reinforcements coming up. And as you can see already, I definitely should have been investing in more Honey Stewarts, for example, than all of this infantry, because I already have infantry.
Yes, sir.
I just need the vehicle capacity and tank capacity to be able to move forwards. And once I take care of this Pack 40 on the right, and I've also got line of sight onto the Pack 40 in the centre, that would have made it very easy for me to take advantage of those support squads and take them out. You see the Pak 40 there is eventually going to get destroyed. And that's good. We're in a really good position on the right. We are still maintaining the 52% lead of territory for the +1. That's still ticking in our favour, which is fantastic. And my rifles are starting to make some ground on the left. My mortar carrier continuing to move up. This was trying to get in range of the Pak 40, but eventually I turned to use my mortar on the Ersatztruppen, and instead Haymaker uses his 107mm mortar to target that AT gun because it actually has the range to do so. ME-109 going to come in, kill off my rifle squad in this forested area, and I'm going to be forced to fall back with my MMG carrier. We've got a command carrier here and another one here. This is a MMG carrier that just dropped off another Piat squad. And again, Piat squads were just here to just sort of cover off the roads against mobile units that the enemy may have had. Probably should have been aware that I was against the 17th SS Panzer Grenadiers, so they don't actually have too many effective mobile armoured units at the start of the game. But either way, just got an MMG carrier here. That's just going to sneak up, use line of sight, be behind these trees here to block itself against the AT gun, get as close as it can. It does get very close to these Panzer Grenadiers, but at this close range the MMG carrier can do a lot of damage to the Panzer Grenadiers, and as you can see the morale is suffering quite heavily. They're trying to get close enough to use grenades, but as they get pinned down, they get forced to surrender. So that worked out very well, again in my favour, making up more ground on the right side. You can see I'm even pushing forwards these rifles to push the front line a bit further. Yeah, this Pak 40 and the IG-18 really held me back for quite a while. So I'm pretty sick of that. So now I'm just going to charge them down with the command carriers and MG carriers. This MMG carrier targeting the Pak 40 along with this MMG carrier, and this command carrier is going to be targeting the IG-18. We get rid of the Pak 40, get rid of the IG-18, and this is definitely when I should have decided to bring in some Honey Stewarts, because I definitely could have pushed my advantage at this point, moving forwards my infantry supported by those vehicles. Unfortunately though, I just make the rash mistake of charging forwards my carriers without any support. So they're going to be moving over to the right side to deal with this BMW R75. And definitely at this point should have been moving forwards these rifles and the rifles leader, for example, with my command carriers pushing my lead, but I was playing way too conservative in this map. Over on the left side I was worried a bit. We have the Vickers HMG still in position, and I've got the 2-inch carrier moving up as well, just to try and get in range of this Pak 40. Get rid of the BMW R75 on the right finally. Gains even more territory on this right side. But now there is an enemy unit coming down the road. We've jumped into phase B, and now my opponent has access to this 231. And this 231 is the perfect thing to deal with my carriers. So as you can see, as soon as it gets on target, boom goes one command carrier, boom goes one MMG carrier, and I'm in a pretty damn terrible position. See, if I just moved forwards when I was pushing with these carriers, I could have just got into these buildings and had the front line even further forwards before the Stug 3 arrived, and also the 231, but because I was a bit too conservative, I didn't take advantage of that, and it left me in this position where I don't really have too much to counter, for example, a Stug 3 at the moment. We are in phase B, so I do have access to my AT guns, and that's what I'm going to try and bring up to take care of these vehicles, but it's not going to really allow me to push very heavily. I'm just kind of stagnated at the moment with this large defensive line across the factory. Meanwhile on the left side we're being pushed in quite heavily. There's a Marder 2 on its way, there's a Panzer 35R, and we have the Ersatztruppen running across in the open. Yes, I can pin these down quite easily, but still providing presence for the enemy team. In the centre, well, Haymaker's units still hadn't really done too much. We obviously were making ground here, we were definitely over halfway, but these could have maybe even been pushing further forwards, because if we go to the neutral perspective, we can see that these are a couple of Ersatztruppen with a Panzerschreck squad 3 units of 3-star vetted ranger supports would absolutely wreck these units, and we would gain a massive advantage in the centre, especially with my Humber 3 support. So that would have been a great idea. Maybe on this side, not so much. Volkswagen MG42s or MG34s everywhere would have just mowed down all of this infantry in the open. But this infantry is basically sitting here doing nothing for the majority of the game, which was actually pretty unfortunate. Either way, looks like we are going to lose a command unit there. Haymaker's still trying to make good use of his mortar. My Vickers does go down in this tree line, unfortunately. Still have the Vickers on the left side covering off that part of the town, so that was okay. Just trying to maintain the line on the front, on the left, so that we can continue to gain this +1. Currently, I'm not in a great position. I've got all my carriers just hiding behind these buildings away from the Stug, and I'm just waiting for my 17-pounders to arrive. The 17-pounders did finish off the 231 recon vehicle. Now I've just got to do the same for this Stug 3. So just trying to get these 17-pounders into positions away from each other so that I can ambush enemy tanks. And the thing I really like about this river on this map is that you have all these little bushes and you can hide AT guns in them. As you can see, I'm doing by this bridge. Very, very useful for that. Meanwhile, on this left side, because HMG is pinning down some of these Ersatztruppen and doing quite a lot of damage, but there is quite an overwhelming amount of infantry here for a Vickers HMG, and eventually those guys are going to get shot to pieces. You can see they're already down to 2 health. With a little more assistance, they'll definitely take even more damage. Now these IG-33s are used to soften my infantry before they start to charge forwards with the Stoffstrupp. Very interesting use of these units, the IG-33s and so on. Use the command carrier to take out an IG-18. Now I've got this Crusader AA pinning down the IG-33 on the right side. I also have my 17-pounder on target, and these rifles are pinning down some Pioneers on the right. However, they are under fire by the 231. Take out another IG on the left. Command carrier is still doing a great job, which was nice. However, the Stoffstrupp have got into range now, going to break the tracks of this command carrier. And over on this left side, well, I'm just going to start bringing in some more reinforcements to cover off Haymaker, who's running out of infantry very quickly. So unfortunately, one of my AT guns does get taken out. One of my command carriers goes down there as well to the Stug. But this Crusader AA definitely going to work on the Pioneers on the right side now. That's great. And these rifles are just standing in the open, taking their shots too. Finally take out this IG. And now this command carrier is just running on forwards. Haymaker had brought up some machine guns for me on this side, which was very nice of him, just to support my Vickers HMGs that I already have. Do lose another carrier there to the Stug. Probably wasn't the best idea. Finally kill off the Pioneers on the right, and over on the left, well, one of those jumbo killers takes out one of my carriers. So I had the carrier trying to pin down the Pak-43, but unfortunately didn't really do a good enough job before it got killed. Now I have my infantry moving up on the left, and unfortunately it is getting pinned down quite heavily by the long-range fire support of the Marder 2s and the Panzer 35s. Just assault Pioneers here alongside the rifle leaders. Just trying to get them up into the town to take on the enemy Pioneers.
Stay on your guards, gentlemen.
But unfortunately, being pinned down in the open like that does make them very vulnerable. Now what's happening on the right is we're starting to see myself being pushed back quite a lot. You can see the Stoffstrupp have managed to get into this sort of compound here alongside the Pioneers. And the Pioneers, they do have these 22 AP power HE grenades. But if they get close enough, they can do a lot of damage. In that case, they just get pinned down and surrender. But in general, if they're given time, they can just destroy your infantry squads very quickly. In this sort of forest area, I lose some ground as well. And the issue is that as soon as I start to lose ground on this right side, we lose the lead that we had. So currently running a +1 for the enemy now. Haymaker's trying to pick off this Pack 43 with the P38 Lightning.
Just get me out of here.
Now I've got these extra AT guns coming up. The 17-pounder is getting ready to fire at the Stug 3. I was kind of hoping that I'd be able to side shot it, but since it was firing at my Crusader AA, I just let the 17-pounder open up. Got a second 17-pounder there and a third one as well. And yeah, the idea is just to take them into this hedgerow, and I've unloaded this one as well because that's going to be in line of sight of this Stug. Just had to turn round, and because it's 2-star, 1 shot, 1 kill. Lovely jubbly. It's now in the centre. Haymaker's Ranger supports actually being able to pin down some pioneers here, which was really nice. His Ranger support squads up here actually got off map RT'd and they got destroyed, and therefore he lost presence in the centre of the map. And over on the left, well, my attempt at getting into the town just got constantly pinned down by the Marder 2s and eventually died off. So it's got an M4A1, which is actually capable of taking out these Marder 2s and the Panzer 35 quite easily. However, the Marder 2s actually have 1,200 meter range on their main gun, which allows them to stay out of range of the M4A1, and as you can see, the M4A1 goes down because of that. Ideally, Haymaker would have had his M10 in line of sight of those Marder 2s and being able to take those out, but either way, maybe if he'd had both of them on target of his M10, he would have lost the M10 anyway. This M5 gun has got onto line of sight now, so hopefully he'll be able to make a difference. Over on this right side, do lose a rifles unit, and you can see the SOS troop here trying to move forwards as much as possible. Enemy artillery coming in on this right side. You can see the Nobelwerfer 42 here being used. It takes out the Bofors, it takes out 2 of my 17-pounders, and that was really unfortunate that the spread allowed him to take out both of those 17-pounders at the same time. Now, I do manage to break the tracks of that Panzer IV with the 17-pounder, and since that took a lot of morale damage, it did actually get forced to fall back there, as you can see, and that just allows my 17-pounder to finish it off. That's great. Still doing reasonably well on the right side, but in the middle and on the left, things not looking great. My Churchill's moving up, trying to help out, take care of some of this infantry, and also take care of the Marder 2s as well. But there is a lot of AT. You've got the Pack 40, you've got the Marder 2s, and as you can see, my Crocodile's not in the best position. However, we do manage to take out this AT gun, which was a start, so I just optimistically move forwards my Crocodile.
He's burning.
The idea is just to pin down and destroy all of the infantry in this area. Meanwhile, on the right side, Sturm Pioneers are going to get pinned down and killed. More infantry still coming up towards the factory, however. This Vickers HMG does actually get killed by the Speertrupp and the Grill. This Grill definitely started to do a lot of damage to my forces. It's going to get pinned down by the Crusader AA. The Crusader AA, though, is pretty low on ammunition at this point. Managed to have enough to take care of these Sturm Pioneers, but this Bofors was also helping with the infantry moving across the open. The main issue here, though, is that there's a Grill shooting at my infantry. And my Spitfire Mark 9 did take out one of the ME 109s, which was fantastic, the rocket variants. My Crocodile's continuing to move forwards, trying to pin down these Fallschirmjägers. Unfortunately, what happens is this Marder 2 is in position to side shot my Crocodile, and well, should have really seen that coming. However, I wasn't really aware that he would be able to see through all of these like towns and stuff, but there was just enough of a gap there for him to take out that unit, and I probably should have seen it coming, like I said, but it's a bit of miss micro on my point from my position. Now Pioneers moving forward straight into the line of sight of these Tri-Polstins. Just gonna get them destroyed very easily. My rifles managed to save the day there, as the Stoss troop were definitely making some ground. However, we're still losing a +1 currently to the enemy. They're holding 51% of the map against us, and they pushed me back quite far on the right side. So they've got this indent here that wasn't there before. I used to have infantry in this sort of area, but they've pushed me out of it, and I'm actually pretty weak in the centre at the factory at the moment. Most of my infantry and presence is over on the right side. But I am starting to move across this Bofors, and that's going to help me take care of these pioneers. My Vickers HMG does get destroyed with the help of the Pak 43, but taking care of that unit does push the front line right back. Not enough to make it in our favour though. The Haymakers brought up some rifles leaders to the centre to try and make some ground here. Meanwhile on the left I'm bringing in my own infantry along with this AOP carrier, so a forward observer, to provide some artillery. First of all onto this Marder 2, and second of all onto the rest of the town. So yeah, just getting all of these rifles and so on into position so they can charge on forwards and take out the enemy infantry. There goes the artillery, and after a few rounds we do actually blow up the Marder 2, so that was fantastic. And there is a Flak 36 coming up, the 88, and well, that's going to be mortared by Haymaker. However, 8 strength doesn't go down easy, as you will see. In the centre we're being pushed on by multiple pioneer squads supported by Pak 38s and the MG 34s. Over here, well, these GMC HMGs moving forwards, dropping off the rifles leaders as they push on through. Now I was a bit wary as to why Haymaker used just rifle leaders in this aspect. I think it was mainly because it was the only infantry he had left. However, it probably would have been better to use all of these units over on the left as opposed to in the centre, where we could have used other heavier or armoured units to take care of things. We have managed to push it back to 50-50 in terms of territory, so that's fantastic, and now I'm bringing in some more artillery to try and pin down the enemy infantry here, which does go quite well. As you can see, I am pinning down a lot of the pioneers, and I have managed to get into heavy cover here, which allows me to attack the pioneers from an advantage. Now over on the right, 50 cal HMG does manage to get forwards. I should have also been moving forwards with my infantry just to try and make some more ground on this side, because if we go to the neutral perspective, again, there's still not much here. I definitely could have been pushing this, and I just wasn't. And that's basically my fault. I was playing incredibly conservative. Like, if you just look at this is like war game syndrome, where you don't know what's in front of you, so you refuse to move forwards and basically try to push. And yeah, I would have been pinned down quite heavily by pioneers and Panzergrenadiers, but with the fire support of like command carriers and so on, and even the 17-pounder here, we would have been able to take care of the grill and the Pak 43 quite easily. That was just my fault for not really probing where I could, especially on this right side as well, like moving forward some rifle squads into this tree line here, maybe engaging these Panzergrenadiers in the town. So always remember, like, I would definitely recommend this to other people as well. Like, if you're playing in a game, go back and watch your replay. Like, if you lose, even if you like win, whatever, just go back and watch your replay and see what you could have done better. In this case for me, it was definitely being more aggressive when I knew that I'd killed a lot of units in the factory. Like, I could have definitely pushed through at the start of the game. I did manage to get my AVRE side shot by that AT gun, of course, which kind of stalled my push, but being like phase B, I should have brought in another one and continued. I didn't, and therefore lost some valuable frontline because of that. However, on this left side, my rifles has taken a turn for the worst. They brought in some reinforcements. They got some nice covering fire coming in, some nice support from the Kubel here, the 380mm Kubel, and well, that certainly turned things around. A lot of my rifles got wrecked very quickly. The Sturm Pioneer at the 100 meters is going to force my rifles to surrender there, and these guys just don't know what to do. There's only one chap left, lying down in the field, just crying himself to sleep. I'm bringing in the last of my artillery strikes here. 203mm RT coming onto the centre of the town to take care of enemy infantry. They bring in some artillery onto this tree line, wipe out an AT gun. I'm bringing up my Bedfords here. I basically dropped my artillery. Here we'll see a bomber come in, Ju-88, and boom goes my convoy. I didn't actually see that coming because I was looking at the right side at the time, but that Ju-88 literally ruined my push into this town. If I had those 2 extra squads of rifles, it would have made such a difference. It didn't really matter that they weren't unloaded because it probably would have died anyway, but I would have loved to have been able to move those into the buildings further up, especially considering we were definitely making some ground, and Haymaker's mortar here is still very much alive. Now I'm bringing up a Stuart Rim, which just dropped off a 17-pounder over here. And I'm moving up with a couple more units of infantry, just trying to get them as far as I can into the town. I know that there's not much infantry here. We're running low on infantry. They must be running low on infantry. So I'm just going to try and push these up as far as I can. One Bedford turns right, one turns left. I managed to drop off these chaps into a building further up. And these chaps also into a building. One of my rifle squad does get forced to surrender due to the Sturm Pioneers. However, as soon as I'm in the building, I have a good chance of killing off the Sturm Pioneers before they can be useful. Also, the Stuart with the 50 cal and the 30 cal going to be very helpful at pinning down enemy infantry squads. So I'm trying to make a little bit of ground back on the left side. Currently still losing 51% to 49, which was very unfortunate. I knocked out the crew of this Stug 4 in the centre. Didn't manage to get the kill with my AT gun, unfortunately. And that kind of makes a big dent in the centre. Haymaker's P47 does actually take out the enemy AT gun there, pushing the front line back briefly. But we don't really have too much at the moment to cover off the centre from the Stug just pushing down the road. I don't have anything really in the factory that's close enough. This Piat squad's well out of range. I have a couple of priests I've been using throughout the game, by the way. They were kind of covering in the centre mainly, assisting Haymaker's infantry and taking out enemy infantry and enemy AT positions. Got a defense beacon there from Haymaker, was asking if I could bring in a unit to cover off this little push coming in here. I just brought in a rifle squad, and I'm also going to be bringing in a Challenger as well, just to cover that off. So yeah, my rifles made a lot of ground back on the left side. We managed to take quite good control of this town briefly. However, there is still the Pioneers here. And as you can see, the grenade's going to take out that squad. Don't want to get this Stuart too close to a 22 HE grenade, so backing that one off to assist against these Fallschirmjägers instead. They're going to be starting to pin them down. I'm going to be bringing in my Spitfires. They're going to go ham onto the Pioneer squad in the building. Just going to see if I could get a cheeky snipe there onto an infantry squad. The enemy flak is opening up onto my Spitfires if I get too close. I was trying to avoid that at all costs. However, this flak 36 is going to be able to take out one of Haymaker's Rhinos. Going to be able to shoot at the M5 gun as well. And well, another artillery strike is going to ruin my day. There goes my rifles. Stuart gets stunned, and well, I have no more presence left in this town again. You actually take out the Pioneers with the Spitfires in the end, but other than that, it was pretty doomed. This FW-190 shouldn't have really had a chance to shoot down the P-47 there. That was kind of my bad. I should have had the Spitfires moving over to take care of that. We do actually manage to take it out though, with the Tripolistons, so that was that worked out quite well in the end. Even though I should have had my Spitfires over on the right side and not really have been focusing on sniping infantry. And the recce there were eventually spotted and forced to engage. They do go down with the ship and unfortunately are left to die. My Challenger's moving up here to try and take care of this Stug. So I'm just going to be moving that up. What I didn't realise is the infantry squad that had moved up next to me was actually Sostrib with the Panzerfaust. Now they're actually holding fire at the moment. But as soon as they align, they can get a Panzerfaust straight into the side of my Challenger. That was really, really annoying. That actually incredibly annoyed me because I didn't see the Stoss troop move up. I knew that there was an infantry squad in there, but I didn't think it was Stoss troops, so that was my bad for letting that happen. Either way, Bomber's going to be coming in, dealing with some more of Haymaker's infantry. My Challenger's going to be continuing to pin down the Sturm Pioneer here, and my Priests are trying to take care of this Flak 36 at the moment. The M5 gun finally takes that out, but, well, a Ju-88 is going to come in and turn that around as the AT gun goes down. However, this time round, the Ju-88 not going to get out alive. The PA-38 Lightning on its tail, and that's going to do the job. Fantastic. So now moving forwards, these Assault Pioneers supporting the Challenger just to try and make some more ground. Going to pin down the Sturm Pioneers there again. And now I've got a Challenger moving up near the factory again to try and take care of that Stug. The issue here is that we have lost the M10 that Haymaker had, and I don't really have any recon left because my recon died, so we don't really know what's here anymore. I only know roughly that there was an infantry squad, a Stug, and now obviously what we can see. So in this case we can see both of these AA half-tracks moving up as well. What I didn't realise is that they'd actually brought up a second unit of Stoss troop and they had some recon here, so they could see what was going on. I managed to take out one of the enemy AA pieces, and now he's going to be moving the Stug to take on my Challenger. We've got AT guns coming up, so hopefully they will be able to turn round this centre push, because if we manage to make back the ground in the centre, we could possibly push back to like a +1, for example. You can see already we're on 49 to 51, 50-50 as we're pushing back, and there's only, what, 4 minutes 30 left in this game, and we're currently at a disadvantage. My Challenger, unfortunately, fails to hit the Stug and does get one shot by the enemy Stug, so that didn't help. The Humber Mark III goes down to the Stoss troop, which I hadn't realised to come up. I knew that these guys were here, the Stoss troop, but I wasn't aware of the Humber. So, going to get these Stuarts to open up onto the Stoss troop there. I also have the 17-pounder engaging that Stoss troop. I've got the Priests coming in with their artillery onto where the Stug was for when I was trying to engage with the Challenger. Managed to take out those Stoss troop. I know there's another Stoss troop squad here, but that Stoss troop squad's gonna absolutely wreck my Stuart's rim. I thought that I was just out of range of the Panzerfaust, but apparently not. And even as I try and use the Recce to try and take out the Stoss troop, take them out too. That was my bad. I should have waited until the Stoss troop were pinned down to make that move. But yeah, either way, eventually we take care of that infantry. But there's still a massive amount of territory being gained for the opponents here. They've made a lot of ground. Even though there's nothing here, just like having units behind the factory gives them all of this ground, and this Stug's making a lot of it at the moment, which is really, really irritating, especially considering without this big old random push in the centre, we would have been at a lead again. And currently, the Axe is on 810 points to our 667. So we definitely made a massive slip up in the centre. I lost a Challenger for free, like on the road, and then I lost another one here. Probably should have had the Challenger further to the right. It was really quite sad that at this point it was so close in the game. We just needed to make back the ground in order to win, and in order to get ahead enough to make this a victory, we would need to have like a +2 or even a +3 at this point. So I'm just trying to desperately push forwards where we can. My Stuart Ream's the only thing that's actually holding in this town right now. And especially after all of the infantry engagements, my Assault Pioneers managed to take out the Fallschirmjäger there, which was nice. So we're making a lot of ground in the centre. My Challenger got really far up. Did get bombed by the Ju-88 there, though. Polston does get destroyed on the left side of the factory. Now I'm just bringing over the rifles to maintain that pocket. But this little bit of territory here really, really bit us in the arse at this point, because that's literally just this Stug causing that to occur. And I really want to take out this Stug, of course. I do have the 17-pounder that I brought in just for that purpose. Also got a crocodile now coming up as well to try and take care of some of the infantry as well. These priests are still opening up, still using them to provide artillery fire. We do manage to finally cut off this incursion into our territory, and once we do, you can see the territory just go completely in our favour. We are currently running the +1. However, there is only 1 minute and 15 seconds remaining. And well, finally we take out the Stug here. And we don't really have enough time to bring this back, so we're reserved to making this a draw now. Now my priests, well, they do actually nearly get bombed here, but I was moving them after they fired. Something that I've actually got quite used to doing now. And well, just bringing in some Humber AAs and the Honey Stewart to try and make a counter push in the centre. But like I said, there is currently 40 seconds left on the clock. Taking out the munitions truck with the Spitfire. Trying to get the kills here and there just to pad my KD. But otherwise, that is pretty much game. 20 seconds left on the clock. Definitely could have made use of all of these units on the right earlier on. Like, I should have made this push earlier. You can see that I'm just charging forwards all my infantry at this point. I should have done that sooner, just to make up the extra +1. You can see the grill does actually manage to take care of some of my units, but all of this infantry that was in the little factory area beyond, definitely I could have put that under pressure much sooner, and I basically played too conservatively on the right side because I was concentrating on stemming the bleeding so much on the left, and that definitely let us down throughout the game when we should have basically outright won that. Either way, it was a very interesting draw and a lot to learn from this game. You can see that it was a draw after all. We did technically lose if you look at the overall conquest points, but yeah, it was a draw in terms of being in 10% of the enemy's points, so there you go. We go to the kills and losses, where you can see that I was actually quite positive in this game. Haymaker had 25 more kills than losses, 3,930 kills. Whereas myself, 3,545 kills to 2,685 losses. I did actually relatively well. Definitely should have pushed my advantage on the right early on. That, again, what let us down. In Wargame Syndrome, that's what I love to call it. It's when like you don't use recon enough to actually find out that there's nothing ahead of you. And even when your recon doesn't see anything, you still imagine that there's going to be something there that's going to stop you from moving onwards. In this case, as soon as I identified that I destroyed both of the AT guns they brought in, that would have been when I had a good advantage on that right side to push forwards with armoured vehicles and my command carriers and so on, supported by my infantry, and to make a lot more ground. But either way, that's about it. Go over to the kills. You can see the AVRE just killed all of the AMG squads for me. That was fantastic. Crusader did actually do a relatively good job there. 17 pounders picking up a few tanks, but a lot of my kills are very spread out in this game, as you can see. And that just shows like it wasn't really me being reliant on one unit specifically, and that basically tells me that I should have been able to push much further in the game. Either way, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed it. Hopefully you've learned a lot from this game. I certainly did. I watched it back quite a few times actually, just to see what we could have done differently, and it mainly comes down to being more aggressive when I knew I had an advantage on my side of the map, and maybe not cared less about the left side, but be more conservative and maybe played it a bit more defensively rather than letting a lot of my infantry die to artillery and bombing strikes. That was basically my downfall on the left side. But either way, that's all, so thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.